Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks for joining us here at KAKM for Sunday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting tonight's show. On Friday, there was still quite an area of extreme fire danger up over the north central interior, across the upper Yukon Valley to the southeastern Brooks Range area, and areas of extreme fire danger extending out toward into the Yukon Delta, with high fire danger all the way out to the southwest coast, and extending down through the Matanuska-Susitna Valley areas and across the Kenai Peninsula, and extreme fire danger again on Friday here over the Copper River Basin. Well, that's changed quite a bit here, especially over the eastern interior. The heavier rains that fell yesterday over the eastern Alaska Range and the upper Tanana Valley shifted northward and was more up over the upper Yukon Valley to the eastern Brooks Range, anywhere from 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch of rain having fallen across this area in the last 24 hours. And of course, fire danger really laid down up in that area, but still some extreme fire danger looks like over the western Koyukuk Valley to maybe the Kobuk Valley. High fire danger, there's been a lot less precipitation out through this area, in fact none at all, so high fire danger still out to the Selawik Valley and down across the eastern Seward Peninsula, and then a swath here extending southwestward into the along the Yukon Valley, but rainfall in the Kuskokwim Valley, improved conditions there, but extreme fire danger still over the Matanuska Valley areas, with high fire dangers down mostly along the northern and eastern side of the Kenai Peninsula, all the rain having fallen here on the eastern shores and over Prince William Sound and the North Gulf Coast areas. Very little rainfall also over the Copper River Basin there, so there's extreme fire danger. So gusty winds again today up to 15 to 25 miles an hour along the Copper River and also over the eastern Alaska Range, and some high fire danger showing up again over the northern southeast coast. Looking at the satellite imagery for today, you can see a lot of clouds here. There were some isolated showers over the southeast coast. In fact, a patch of showers here just moving on to Prince of Wales Island and up toward the Sitka area, and some more moisture down to the south that'll be tracking northward. But some sunshine today over the southern areas there allowed temperatures to warm into the mid-70s, 74 at Annette this afternoon, and 80 over towards Stewart. Otherwise, the North Gulf Coast, a lot of moisture still streaming northward around low pressure here, southeast of Kodiak Island or to the south. And a lot of that, the moisture that came across the Bering Sea Friday and yesterday, dropping down across the Alaska Peninsula, having come back around now. So anywhere from 2/3 of an inch of rain having fallen in Seward in the last 24 hours, and about 1/4 of an inch of rain fallen at Cordova, with scattered showers to isolated showers here over south central Alaska, but a little more extensive and numerous over western Cook Inlet and the western Susitna Valley areas up to the eastern slopes of the Alaska Range. Then here's that moisture, it lifted northward, so a few breaks here over the upper Tanana Valley area into the southeastern upper Yukon Valley, with all the rainfall now up over the eastern North Slope Brooks Range areas, with some showers extending southwestward there across the Koyukuk Valley, but also some sunshine here, southwest coast, Nunivak Island, up across the Yukon Delta, and areas back to the north and west. That ahead of the next system pushing across the northern Bering Sea, and that kicked the winds up along the northwest coast here, where gusts as high as 25 to 30 miles an hour, or up to 30 miles an hour occurring at Tin City throughout the day today, and Point Hope seeing gusts of 35 miles an hour, and Cape Lisburne had gusts of 50 miles an hour this afternoon, so that's kicking the winds up pretty good as it comes across, but the whole system is weakening as it continues to move by. So small craft advisories tonight through these areas, and then the winds will gradually diminish later tonight and tomorrow as the whole system weakens, and some moisture out here over the western Aleutians, bringing a little bit of light rain or fog to the Shimia area, possibly Adak, but some showers going on over the eastern Aleutians earlier today, and then some breaks here over the Alaska Peninsula area. On the chart today, we had thunderstorms break out again here, scattered across the eastern interior over the mountainous terrain there, the Alaska Range, scattered thunderstorms over the western Alaska Range along the Kuskokwim Mountains as well, and even some lightning strikes showing up over in northeast Bristol Bay. Here's that weakening front that brought the gusty winds into the western Arctic coast, the northwest coast of the Chukchi Sea coast there. This afternoon, not much of a rain producer, just some scattered showers along that frontal boundary as it weakens. Big high pressure area out over the Bering Sea and high pressure up here off the Arctic coast, keeping winds relatively light there through the Arctic coast, but again, a lot of shower activity up over the northeast interior, some of those on the moderate side. Again, some locations picking up at least 3/4 of an inch. Some areas may have had more. Other areas more down to maybe 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch. Areas of smoke not quite as bad today, mostly over the central interior and then up to the northeast in the upper Yukon Valley, with visibilities, at least at the stations I looked at, were only down to about 3 to 5 miles this afternoon. So big improvement here back, especially back over the not the Copper River Basin, but back over the Kuskokwim Valley areas around McGrath. And Copper River Basin, again, dry conditions, variably cloudy, isolated showers over the mountains with southerly winds there in the Copper River Delta, gusting up to about 30 miles an hour. Same thing at Delta, seeing that the Copper River Valley up to 30 miles an hour, and the same thing up at Delta there in the eastern Alaska Range passes. And then this area of showers streaming northward, bringing a little bit of moisture into Sitka this afternoon, as well as down at Klawock, and more of that is going to slide up later tonight and tomorrow. And this trough bringing the rainfall into the North Gulf Coast, showers over Kodiak, but another trough, probably spread some more rain up that way later tonight. As the forecast shows, periods of rain and fog there for Kodiak Island. That'll extend up along the western North Gulf Coast, western Prince William Sound, mostly drying out here from about Cordova and staying dry over Yakutat with some variable clouds, dry over the Copper River Basin, south winds diminishing with isolated thunderstorms possible over the northeast Brooks Range and eastern Alaska Range. Again, isolated scattered activity back here to the west. Also up to the north, areas of smoke again, but not anything that'll probably cause IFR conditions like we've seen late last week and on Saturday here over the interior, but still some areas of smoke through these areas, but no advisories out for dense smoke in any of those locations. And this front weakening, winds diminishing, but still a chance of showers there from about Point Lay southward across the Noatak Valley, trailing back across the western Seward Peninsula to the St. Lawrence Island area. Pretty good chance of seeing some scattered showers there tonight with that trough. And it's really not going to move a whole lot. High pressure down here over the Bering Sea holding, so a lot of clouds, light winds, and areas of fog from the Pribilof Islands down to the eastern Aleutians back out to the west. And you get into a chance of rain along that old frontal boundary here over the western Aleutians, and that kind of doesn't really move a whole lot. Still a chance of rain out to the west there. No change here over the Bering Sea. Light wind conditions, especially over the Pribilofs, light winds over the eastern central Aleutians with areas of low clouds and fog. And this trough still stuck up here to the northwest. The main low kind of sliding up to the north there, but again, the whole system continues to weaken, so just scattered showers over the Noatak Valley, western Arctic coast, again back across the Seward Peninsula, but that now shifting east to St. Lawrence Island. It could be mostly sunny here from the southwest coast. Up across the lower Yukon Valley. Looks pretty good tomorrow here over the north central interior, the north slope. Mostly sunny skies, Brooks Range down into the northern Koyukuk Valley. And then those afternoon thunderstorms or late morning to early afternoon thunderstorms developing here over the eastern interior, over the mountainous terrain, the White Mountains down into the northeast Copper River Basin, eastern Alaska Range. Scattered along the western Alaska Range, maybe the Kuskokwim Mountains down to the Kilbrook Range, with showers continuing over Kodiak Island. Another trough, keeping a chance of showers. Southern Kenai Peninsula, maybe western Prince William Sound, back across the Barren Islands into Kamishak Bay. And then pretty good chance of showers here from Kamishak Bay across the Aleutian Range, but drying out now over the Alaska Peninsula, with, again, areas of low clouds and fog anywhere out over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians tomorrow. A lot of IFR out that way, and still some scattered showers moving northward tonight across the Panhandle. Still showers, but decreasing tomorrow afternoon with maybe some clearing showing up along the coastline there, but continued an upper-level trough here in the Gulf of Alaska and southwesterly flow. That's going to keep a chance of showers in over the northern southeast coast in the forecast for at least through Tuesday, but variable clouds and drier. down to the south there, a little bit more sunshine and warmer temperatures. Scattered showers again along the North Gulf Coast. Isolated the scattered showers the next 2 or 3 days over south central Alaska and the Kenai Peninsula. A little more numerous again on the Pacific side of things, or the eastern Kenai Peninsula and North Gulf Coast. We'll see the most precipitation and scattered isolated thunderstorms again over the eastern Alaska Range, the White Mountains, eastern interior areas back along the western Alaska Range, and even the Kuskokwim Valley could see some thunderstorm activity tomorrow along this trough axis. Showers and thunderstorms will be a little more concentrated up to the north into the Koyukuk Valley, and a risk of some thunderstorms there over the eastern Brooks Range area. Dry mostly back here to the west, and still that chance of showers up to the northwest, and still a chance of showers over the western Aleutians. That front really washing out now and dropping down to the south. High pressure drifting eastward here, so it looks like light variable winds for the Pribilofs on Tuesday, with a lot of low clouds and fog developing under that ridge all the way down to the eastern Aleutians. Could be a few breaks here off the Bristol Bay coast there, but the Bering Sea side of the peninsula could be pretty well socked in with possible IFR or marginal VFR conditions, with better flying conditions on the Pacific side of the peninsula. Temperatures today mostly in the 60s here over the southeast coast, except Annette up to 74 and Stewart at 81. North Gulf Coast mid-50s today. Prince William Sound, Cook Inlet lower 60s, 60 at Palmer, 62 at Homer. These are all mid-afternoon temperatures. 66 up at Talkeetna, and they had a little bit of rain earlier today. 63 at Gulkana with those gusty south winds, and Delta up to 70, 65 at Northway with 67 at Fairbanks. And Tanana only 62 this afternoon, but up to 70 over at Galena. Actually 71 at Galena. Same thing there at McGrath, up to the north 57 at Anatuvik and Fort Yukon, as well as Dead Horse here in the eastern Arctic coast. Upper 50s there at Barrow, with a range of mid-40s to mid-50s for the western Arctic coast. Lower 50s to upper 60s here over the Northwest Valleys, and a range from 52 at Nome to 63 at Golovin and Unalakleet. St. Mary's up to 66. 68 there at Sleep Mute. Bethel up to 71. Sunshine at Kipnuk with 64 degrees, even though they had a west wind 10 to 15 miles an hour. And Cape Newenham at 54, King Salmon up to 56 with the Alaska Peninsula in the 50s, and 40s out over the Aleutians. Lows tonight, 40s in the Aleutians and the Bering Sea, as well as the Bering Strait up to the western Arctic coast. Otherwise 30s, 40s, and 50s there across the north slope, with mostly 50s here over the interior. Higher elevations dropping into the 40s over the eastern interior in the Copper River Basin, down into the mid-40s. Otherwise lower 50s here for south central Alaska, and in the 50s for the Panhandle. Highs for tomorrow, 70s now all the way down to the southwest coast, mid-70s up over the interior. Things warm up a little bit now, and into the mid-70s over the Tanana, upper Yukon Valley areas. Otherwise 60s to lower 70s there for the Susitna Valley, Copper River Basin, mostly in the 60s over the southeast coast, but the warmest conditions again either in the south or up towards Skagway. And for flying weather, marginal VFR here right along the coast tomorrow afternoon here all the way up into the North Gulf Coast. Possible IFR here over the coastal mountains, but more extensive IFR over western Prince William Sound, down the east side of the Kenai Peninsula, and then into the Gulf of Alaska. Calling for just marginal VFR there for the east side of Kodiak Island, but could be some areas of IFR early on. Marginal VFR slipping up the west side of Cook Inlet there to the eastern slopes of the Alaska Range, western Alaska Range. Scattered thunderstorms again over the interior, and IFR mostly off the Arctic coast. Could be marginal IFR there for the Barrow area, and then that slips through the Bering Strait, and a huge area IFR covering just about all of the Aleutians except the Fox Islands and Shimi and Attu and the Bering Sea, but calling for marginal VFR for the Pribilofs. Possible IFR though for St. Paul at times, especially on Tuesday. Anatuvik, VFR, north and south. Same forecast for Adigan, Lake Clark and Merrill. Possible marginal VFR in the eastern approaches, otherwise VFR. And for rainy, marginal VFR, again, possible on the eastern entrance, otherwise staying open. For windy, chance of a thunderstorm, VFR. Isabel, still a risk of a thunderstorm, but Mentasta staying VFR. And for Tanita, VFR, but could see some marginal VFR at times on this eastern entrance, but better to the west. Portage, still the lowest conditions will be on the east side, higher conditions on the western entrance. Looks like marginal VFR basically through the pass. Chilkoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels showing cooler air aloft now over south central Alaska, down in across Kodiak Island, and then about 8,000 feet here over the interior. So again, not much of a gradient, thermal gradient here, but about 6,000 to 10,000 feet. little more where that southwesterly jet is over the southern southeast coast, and then a little bit of a warmer air mass there coming into the central Aleutians, freezing levels up to 12,000 feet. And icing threats here, Prince William Sound, southern Kenai Peninsula across Kodiak Island, into Bristol Bay and the Alaska Peninsula, otherwise icing free, nothing significant over much of the interior. And could be some icing above 9,000 feet here over the southeast coast of the rime or mixed variety. And the upper level wind flow chart showing the upper level low staying here in the Gulf of Alaska, the western Gulf. That's going to keep southwest flow there and keep showers in the forecast over the Panhandle over the next couple of days. Higher pressure building out over the Bering Sea. And at 9,000 feet, 20 to 30 knot easterly still from the North Gulf Coast. Otherwise, pretty light winds out here to the west under high pressure over the Aleutians and the Bering Sea. Southwest flow still up to 30 knots there along the northwest coast. And that same pattern at 3,000 feet. Turbulence-wise, occasional moderate chop here from about Point Lay all the way down to St. Lawrence Island, and maybe here for the Barren Islands, Kamishak Bay area. Otherwise, pretty icy or turbulence-free, smooth here through much of mainland Alaska and the Panhandle. And after the break, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
Hello everyone and welcome to Alaska Weather Facts. I'm Jim Peranto. Today in the studio I have Christine Nelson, who's the meteorologist in charge at the CWSU, or Center Weather Service Unit, and it's based out of Anchorage, and she's here today to talk to us about what the CWSU does and the kinds of information it provides. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you.
I have to admit, I know very little about the CWSU, which is why I'm glad you're in here today to enlighten me and the viewers out there. I know some forecasters in Alaska have at some time or another gone through the CWSU, and I want to start off with, why was it created?
The Center Weather Service Unit, also called the CWSU, was created nationally, was created following a series of fatal aircraft accidents, and in particular one that happened near New Hope, Georgia in the mid-1970s. A DC-9 Southern Airways jet ran into a line of intense thunderstorms and crashed. The NTSB reports of all these fatal accidents determined that better weather information provided to the pilots could have prevented these accidents. So in response to the NTSB report, the FAA contracted with the National Weather Service to bring meteorologists into the control centers. And that's how we were formed.
And so this is, you said the mid-70s. I believe the crash that you're talking about was 1977.
Right.
And so CWSU's been around 25 years roughly.
Right.
So who's your primary customer then?
Our primary customer is the Air Route Traffic Control Center, basically the air traffic managers within the center. Although we do provide weather information to TRACONs, our main primary customer is the controllers.
Okay. And where is the CWSU located in Anchorage?
We're co-located with the ARTC. We are inside, right there with the controllers, face-to-face, right with them.
So is that at the international airport, or is that at Merrill Field? What?
It's actually near the Elmendorf base.
Oh, okay.
Is where they're located, off of Boniface.
I've always wondered, where you were located. Are you the only unit in Alaska?
We are the only unit in Alaska, yes.
Okay.
And there are 20 others across the lower 48.
Okay. So you're providing exclusive information to the air traffic managers or controllers out at...
Yes, just for Alaska.
Okay. All right. So how does the CWSU assist air traffic managers or controllers in managing air traffic?
Right. We provide 2 weather briefings a day, and we focus on major weather features that could adversely affect air traffic into the 10 major airports in Alaska. And those weather features are turbulence, icing, low-level wind shear, precipitation, low clouds, whatever is, the main concern for those particular airports. And those airports do range from the North Coast to the Aleutians to the Southeast Panhandle, and include the larger airports in Alaska of Anchorage, Fairbanks, and Juneau.
That's a big area.
It's a huge area.
And you also provide some information with volcanoes, correct?
Yes, we do. We provide volcanic weather support, kind of volcanic ash support, where the ash is going to travel. Of course, that is weather dependent, how the winds are flowing. We also, we don't do it alone. the CWSU coordinates with the Alaska Volcano Organization and also the National Weather Service's Air Weather Unit to try and determine what the plume height was and kind of plume direction. And from that point, the AWU, the Air Weather Unit, produces a segment, and from that segment, the Center Weather Service Unit produces a graphical segment so that it's easy to understand at a glance. We provide that for the controllers at the ARTC. And then we also take that graphic and we fax it out to 70 outside users as a courtesy.
So are there any products available to the public that they can get from the CWSU?
Yeah, there are two currently. There's the Center Weather Advisory, also called the CWA, and the Meteorological Impact Statement called the MIS. The MIS and the CWA are basically produced when there are adverse weather conditions that may affect air traffic in the entire state of Alaska. But in addition, MISs, we also will issue an MIS for temperatures minus 65 degrees or colder aloft, because jet fuel congeals at minus 65. So aircraft want to avoid those heights that those temperatures are occurring. And then the other that we issue is for altimeters that are going to be 31 inches or greater, because there are no aircraft altimeters that go that high.
Yeah,
so.
and that's good information to the pilots out there.
Right.
That they can actually grab that stuff right off your internet page, correct?
Yes, right off the page.
Is there any plans in the future for increased information sharing between the CWSU and the public?
The FAA is testing some technology that will allow people who get the software and go through all the appropriate procedures, but they're testing some software that will allow CWSU produced graphics and forecasts to be viewed by flight service station, air traffic controller, towers, and also by pilots.
Okay.
So it's be part of the capstone project, but
right.
that's coming. It's something that's being worked on.
Great. And you're fairly new into this position.
Yes,
you've
I've
been
been
up
here
for
5 months.
Okay, and how's everything going so
Oh,
far?
I love it. Alaska's great.
Yeah, and you've been up here before.
I was here in '93, actually in Fairbanks. I did fire weather forecasting for the summer in Fairbanks and just had a great time.
Great, great. Well, appreciate you coming in here today. And if people want to get some more information from the CWSU, they can email you.
Absolutely.
And I think you've also provided a phone number. They can call the office directly.
Yes.
And I invite the viewers out there to check out the website, because there's a lot of good information on there besides the MISs and the CWAs.
Right. There's also links to the Air Weather Unit, which is actually located in the forecast office, so you can get to their products as well.
Great. Well, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure talking to you. And thank you for joining us here on Alaska Weather Facts. Until next time.
Well, the sea ice today isn't too different from what it was Thursday and Friday. Coming off the central coast here, extending westward with the south and southeast winds here blowing through that area. The ice is still expected to shift northwestward 10 to 20 nautical miles by Wednesday. And moving on to the marine forecast here, Lynn Canal, southerly winds tomorrow at about 20 knots. Otherwise, everywhere else about 10 knots. South for Stevens Passage, northwesterly for Clarence Strait. Kind of a west to southwest breeze here along the coastal areas. Then that stays light, 10 knots, mostly from the south on the north coast, west to southwest on the south coast, and northwesterlies up to 20 knots for Clarence Strait. A little bit of an increase in the gradient here, picking these winds up a little bit, especially for Lynn Canal up to 25 knots with seas at 5 feet. And then for the North Gulf Coast tomorrow, easterly winds at 20 knots, extending across the Barren Islands, dropping back to 15 knots there for Kamishak Bay. North to northeast, 10 to 15 for Cook Inlet. Northeasterlies up to 20 there for Shelikof Strait. And then on Tuesday, light variable winds here for northern Cook Inlet, and southeasterly winds 10 to 15 knots for the North Gulf Coast and Prince William Sound. Easterlies at 10 here for the Barren Islands down along the east side of Kodiak Island. And Shelikof Strait, east winds at 15 knots. Out toward Bristol Bay, northeast winds there at 15 knots, and that wind pattern extends all the way down the Bering Sea side of the peninsula. Light northwesterlies here on the Pacific side, and east winds at about 15 from Sitkinak to Sand Point. And then on Tuesday, light variable winds here on the Pacific side of the peninsula, and northeast at 10 on the Bering Sea side, with northeast winds 15 knots there southwest of Kodiak Island. Easterlies at 15 for Bristol Bay. Fox Islands tomorrow, north to northwest at about 10 knots. Otherwise, the central areas, easterlies 15 to 20 knots and 20-knot winds from the east-southeast here over those western zones. And for the Tuesday outlook, small craft advisories here for the west central Aleutian areas and the southern portions here of the Adak and Atka area, with southeasterlies and easterlies only just 10 to 15 knots here over the eastern marine zones there for the Aleutians. And then for the southwest coast here, north of Nunivak Island, northwest winds at about 15 knots. South of Nunivak Island, very light variable northerlies at about 10. Same forecast for the Pribilofs, north at 10 knots, pretty light winds. Southwesterlies at 20 knots here from the northern Bering Sea up across St. Lawrence Island. Seas running 5 to 7 feet in those areas. And then for Tuesday, southwesterlies 15 to 20 knots here for the northern Bering Sea across St. Lawrence Island, staying strongest there in the north with west-northwest breezes along the southwest coast, and the Pribilofs variable to southeast at about 10 knots with 3-foot seas. Up along the Arctic coast, on the east side tomorrow, southeast winds at 20 knots, the central coast south at 15, south 20 knots, and the winds coming down, small craft advisories tonight here for these areas from Wales up to Cape Beaufort, but still some small craft advisories here for Point Hope and Cape Lisburne. And then on Tuesday, those all drop off to 10 knots from the south-southwest, and pretty light winds south to southeast, 10 or 15 knots for the eastern Arctic coast. And for tonight, again, some scattered showers and scattered thunderstorms here over the mountainous terrain of the east central interior, the Alaska Range, and maybe the Kuskokwim Mountain areas and northeast Bristol Bay early this evening. Otherwise, occasional rain the North Gulf Coast. Showers, a batch of showers moving northward here, Prince of Wales Island into the central panhandle, and that'll continue moving northward tomorrow and then tend to improve in the afternoon in that area, but won't end altogether. Still a chance of showers up along the western North Gulf Coast, Kenai Peninsula, scattered showers and thunderstorms over the interior, drier back to the north and to the west, and then this week trough with some showers there. Holds through Tuesday, and scattered showers, isolated thunderstorms over the interior with showers along the North Gulf Coast. Have a great week, have a great Sunday evening, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.